Part of the reason that I'm making this video is because I genuinely need your guidance. I have one question to ask you, one very simple question, but it is a question that demonstrates the sheer brilliance of this Arsenal team. It's a question that demonstrates the depth that Mikel Arteta has created at Arsenal Football Club. The question is this. Is Mikel Merino the best finisher at Arsenal Football Club? What we saw Arsenal do last night in Prague was truly brilliant, but it also revealed something about the club that I think is going slightly under the radar. The depth at the club is truly outrageous. And the question that I've asked there, it's a ridiculous proposition when you think about it. Mikel Merino was signed by Arsenal to be a midfielder, and yet I can legitimately ask you the question, whether you agree with me or not, is he the best finisher at the club? I mean, how can a geezer who was signed to play as a central midfielder, and he only ended up playing up front out of sheer desperation and a crisis at Arsenal last year, end up being possibly the best finisher at the club? But that is where they are. I mean, Arsenal signed players in the most recent window to have a situation where they never needed to rely on Mikel Merino playing up front again. And yet they end up, unfortunately, in a situation where they have to evolve, they have to rejig, they have to create, and they end up stumbling upon, or even more impressive from Mikel Arteta, creating the most perfect recipe. Now, where I sit on this debate, to be totally frank, and this is why I'm asking the question, is I think he is. I think Mikel Merino is the most natural finisher at that club. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below on this, because I want to know if you think I'm right or wrong. I love this community that we're building. I love hearing your thoughts. So please do subscribe, click subscribe right now, and let me know your thoughts on this. The reason that I think Mikel Merino is the most natural finisher can be demonstrated from what we saw last night. Just look at the goals. Look at the variety of goals. Use each goal as a case study. One of them, an exquisite finish on the half volley. Pure sexiness. Sexy football, total football, wallop. Excellent finish, gave the keeper no chance. That is a sign of a good striker. Do you know what another sign of a good striker is? Ugly, bitty, scrappy, horrible goals. Now look, anybody that watches this channel regularly will know that I adopt a policy. There is no such thing as a bad goal. Scoring ugly goals is exactly the kind of thing that Arsenal need to do. We know that there is enough craft, enough guile, enough beauty to score those total football Ajax 1995 goals. They can do that in abundance. Eberechi Eze, one of the most beautiful footballers in the Premier League. Bukayo Saka, undoubtedly world class. Martin Odegaard can see a pass that most more immortal footballers can't even play. Like he can see it and play it. Most footballers can't even see it. So there is a huge amount of talent in that Arsenal team. But maybe over the years, there hasn't been enough ugliness. There hasn't been enough direct football. There hasn't been enough of a battering ram up front. And that is what Mikel Merino is. That is what he has become. Because it is so important to have players like Mikel Merino in your squad. I guarantee you this. If you are to win silverware, the reason that you win it is because of players like Merino. Think of any... I'm a Chelsea fan, right? I'm going to use Chelsea examples. When Chelsea have won the league, if you don't support Chelsea, you will always go, Didier Drogba won Chelsea the league. And of course, that's true. But do you know why we won the league that year? Yeah, it was Drogba's goals. But you know when Drogba didn't score for a bit? Solomon Kalou. Solomon Kalou comes in, scores 8 a season, and bang, you win the league. A decade or so later, Diego Costa was the reason that Chelsea won the league under Antonio Conte, and that's completely true. But Michy Batshuayi, Loic Remy is such a brilliant example of this. Somebody that can just play, score, not necessarily need to start every game, but can take the burden away from the goal scorers. It really is so important to have that guy that can come in. And that is what Arsenal have in Mikel Merino, and they have it by accident. I mean, I think they have it by accident. But maybe I'm being unjust on Mikel Arteta. I'm going to come on to speak about his contribution to this in a moment. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because Arsenal, by some definition, have sort of signed two Merinos. There's like two versions of Mikel Merino. There is that combative, excellent on the ball, defensive-minded player that we saw playing for Real Sociedad that signed for Arsenal in, the summer of last summer, 24. That's the one version of Mikel Merino. An excellent player, but a player that has been bought more for solidity. A player that has been bought more to stop other teams winning games rather than to create Arsenal winning games. And then there is this other version, that's sort of the B-side of Mikel Merino, where he can be deployed as one of the most efficient strikers at the club. In my opinion, the most natural finisher at the club. And maybe this is luck, or maybe it was Mikel Arteta's vision. Mikel Arteta has had it difficult at times, lots of injuries, and he has now got a situation where he can rely on Mikel Merino to be that target man and to finish chances. Like, the injuries that they have had has been so unfortunate. It's a bulging treatment room, but they know now that they can rest assured on Mikel Merino stepping in as that stand-in striker. And as a result of Mikel Merino's brilliance, Arsenal secured their 10th straight win. 10 wins on the bounce. In all competitions, of course. Of course, they didn't necessarily have it all their own way. They didn't play particularly well, but can you see how important it is? The words that I am saying here, demonstrates why they're breaking records. Arsenal didn't play particularly well away from home in Europe, and yet they come away with the 3 points at Cantor. They don't concede a goal. They score 3. That is a sign of an elite level team, and that is why they are most people's favourites for both the Premier League and the European Cup. They're not mine, but they are most people's. There was a moment, wasn't there, against Prague, where Prague actually managed to muster a fairly soft shot on target. It was an amazing moment. You saw the Arsenal keeper actually do something. Generally speaking, the Arsenal keeper is the best paid spectator at Arsenal. He has the best view at Arsenal. David Raya's position when he's standing at the Emirates, he's basically doing the same. He has the same impact on the game as a geezer sitting in a clock end, wearing a yellow ribbon and all that. But he's earning a fortune and he's got the best view in the house. He's watching it all happen, but he could light a cigar in that goal. We actually saw the Arsenal keeper do something yesterday. It was a very weird moment. It was a very soft shot, but nonetheless, it was a soft shot on target, which is now worthy of conversation. But Arsenal are just breaking records. And obviously that penalty that was overturned. That penalty that was overturned meant that Arsenal were able to record an 8th straight clean sheet for the first time since 1903. Arsenal were a south of the river club then. Woolwich Arsenal, the reason it's called Arsenal, it was all Woolwich. They were a south of the river club. The last time that they conceded this at this rate. It really is truly, truly impressive. And, I just can't believe that we've got to this situation for Arsenal. They have so much depth. They're so brilliant. We've got to a situation where I can sort of gushingly praise Mikel Merino. And then you have to ask, why are we here? And this is the bit that I think is really important to discuss. We're here because of Mikel Arteta. I don't like doing this. It's the Arsenal manager. But Mikel Arteta has just got this so right. He had a problem last year. He had a problem through injury and through people being rather profligate up front that he needed to find a solution. Do you know what he did? He went and he found it. And that is the example of excellent management. I will always acknowledge managers who manage their way out of a situation. They find an answer, they find a way, they find a rhythm, they find the answer. It's so impressive. Anybody that watches this channel regularly will know that I rate Arne Slot highly. One of the reasons that I rate Arne Slot so highly is because he did exactly this. Liverpool Football Club have perennially been missing out on midfield enforcers, midfield targets, over the years. They wanted Romeo Lavia, they didn't get Romeo Lavia. They wanted Moises Caicedo, they didn't get Moises Caicedo. They wanted Jude Bellingham, they didn't get Jude Bellingham. So what did Arne Slot do? They didn't get the players they want. They made one signing in Chiesa, which is a different mould altogether. What did Slot do? He looked around his squad and he managed his way out of a problem. He saw Ryan Gravenberch, a player that was on the periphery, both of Bayern Munich and Liverpool. Nobody really loved him. He wasn't seen as being a player that could guide you to a title, and Arne Slot redefined him. Arne Slot made Ryan Gravenberch one of the best players in his position in the world, and that is a good manager. And now I can extend the same complete courtesy to Mikel Arteta regarding this Mikel Merino evolution, if you like. Mikel Merino's goals are allowing Arsenal to maintain this perfect record that they've got in the Champions League. They weren't very good, and yet they are winning games. And there is now almost a template to the way that they win games. In keeping with their recent displays, what do? They always go a goal up, and then they keep it tight. There is a Mourinho-like quality to it. And when I say that, there is this weird feeling in football. I don't know if you're aware of it. You know, if you compare a manager to Mourinho, people go, it's negative. Negative connotations. I go, it's Mourinho-like. People go, oh, no. We all want to be Guardiola-like, or we want to be Luis Enrique-like, or we want to, I don't know. If I compare you to Jose Mourinho, I can't be more complimentary. I don't have the words. I don't have the articulacy. I don't have the vocabulary to be more complimentary when it comes to saying it's Mourinho-like. For years and years at Chelsea, I'd go to a home game, we'd go 1-0 up after 15 minutes, nothing really would happen for the rest of the game. We may score another goal over about 60 minutes, and then literally nothing else would happen. Do you know how brilliant that is? Do you know how fantastic at football you have to be to make that happen? To totally nullify the opposition, to remove all jeopardy from the game, to go a goal up and end the game there. And that is what Arsenal are doing. You know, they can keep their opponents quiet. They can do it very easily. They can even introduce a player like Max Dowman. You know, he became the youngest player in Champions League history. 15 years old. It's an amazing moment. And Arsenal can introduce a player like that, and it's all going well. Trossard's playing well. Declan Rice is having the impact in both boxes. And you now think about the defensive line, the defensive record. Do you know how long ago it was? Do you know the last goal that Arsenal conceded? Voltemada. It's like 5 weeks ago. Do you know, I remember it really well. I went to see Oasis that night. Oasis aren't even touring anymore. Well, they're touring in Argentina. That's how long ago it was. 5 weeks. Voltemada's goal, and it feels like that was almost the catalyst. That was the catalyst for it all changing at Newcastle United. Voltemada scored. It was Merino. It was actually Mikel Merino in that game, wasn't it? His glancing header. Oh my God. Mate, I've been waxing lyrical about Mikel Merino, and I actually didn't even factor in that it was Mikel Merino that changed the entire trajectory of the title race. If Arsenal hadn't won that game, it felt like they were ebbing away, losing at St James's Park off the back of fairly uninspiring results against those around. Oh my God, it was Merino. And do you know what? You get these moments. When you're a football fan, you get these moments when you know that you're going to win the league. You get that symbolic moment. Arjen Robben at Ewood Park. We knew we were going to win the league. Yeah, you just get that sense that it's yours. And like a defining moment. Losing 3-0 at Arsenal was another one. Antonio Conte. Any Chelsea fan will tell you that season when we won the league, we were 3-0 down against Arsenal at half-time and we won the league that day. That was the day. We couldn't get near Ozil. He was too good. We were all over the place. We were 3-0 down at half-time. We won the league that day. I wonder if Arsenal will look back at that Nick Voltemada goal, almost, that gave Mikel Arteta the impetus to go for the jugular, to stick Mikel Merino on. The depth is unreal, isn't it? The depth is truly unreal. And it's looking like Victor Gyökeres's hamstring injury is going to keep him out of the Sunderland game. If you're an Arsenal fan, I imagine that you aren't bothered. Mikel Merino leading the line against Sunderland. It's not something that intimidates you, is it? Like, he has gone from a sort of makeshift player to somebody that can lead the line. He has a brilliant eye for goal. Okay, he plays it in a different way. He doesn't have the pace. He doesn't have the pace of a Gyökeres. He certainly doesn't have the physical power. But he does it all in a different way. Clever, uses his body well. Variety of finishes. You know, he scores goals. Scores 6 goals for Spain. Scored how many goals for Arsenal towards the end of last season? 7, 8? You know, it really, really is so impressive what he has done. And you know this sort of invention, you just have to give Mikel Arteta so much credit for it. You know, they had an injury crisis. Arsenal didn't really know what to do, but Arteta did. And you know, he didn't even tell Mikel Merino the day that they played at Leicester City. Didn't even tell him that he was going to be up front. Didn't even tell him that he was going to be playing as an auxiliary striker because they didn't want him to overthink it. They didn't want him to be nervous. These decisions that managers make or break seasons. Deciding to play him up front. You live and die by that decision. Does it work? Doesn't it? It did. Telling him on the day, maybe he needs a night to sleep on it. You have to make that decision. And he is basically getting it right every single time. It really is so impressive. And the difference between Arsenal this season and Arsenal last season is they can cope with injuries. Last year, you go, what are they going to do if Saliba gets injured? Bang, Mosquera. What are you going to do when Odegaard gets injured? Bang, Eze. What are you going to do when Gyökeres gets injured? Bang, Mikel Merino. And that is the most impressive one of the lot. Nobody at Arsenal is particularly worried or rushing back, Noni Madueke, Martin Odegaard, because they have ways of making it work. And the youth coming through, you know, Dowman, it's unreal. Like, didn't they have a couple of keepers, young keepers? It's just going so well. And I think that this depth is what sets Arsenal apart this year. Are they capable of doing it? Are they capable of keeping this form up? Are they capable? Many questions to be asked. Loads of twists and turns to come. And nothing is in the bag yet. Anybody is suggesting that it's in the bag yet is incorrect. But I tell you what, Mikel Merino and Mikel Arteta deserve huge amounts of credit. Brilliant result away from home, finding a result in Europe. Difficult, tricky tie. And they've done it, and they've preserved their record, and they played a 15-year-old, and they have answered a perennial question. What will Arsenal do if Gyökeres gets injured? Mikel Merino's the best striker at the club, or certainly the best finisher at the club. Oh my God, it's happening, isn't it? No, there's a long way to go. A lot of twists and turns to come. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please do me the honour of clicking subscribe. Please give this video a like and give it some hype points. No idea why, but please consider doing it. Ta-da.